One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. Your memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. We put the balls in the brakes. I'm talking one chance at best, yes. Painting pictures for the culture, keep the brushes fresh. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Welcome to another episode of Smash Life Spotlight. My name is Justin Lamb. I'm the founder of Smash Life. Super excited for our next guest on our show today. He has an amazing story that I'm excited to share with you all. He has worked with some of the biggest names in the game, including the late Nipsey Hussle, Nas, Kendrick Lamar, DJ Khaled, Hit Boy. The list goes on. He's a multi-platinum, 3-time Grammy Award-winning audio engineer. Please welcome David Yungin Kim. David, I appreciate you taking the time to be on our show, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, man.
For sure. First off, congratulations on recently winning your 3rd Grammy Award with Nas's album King's Disease.
Thank you.
I saw the celebration, so congratulations.
It was fun.
Absolutely. It looked like a ton of fun. But before we kind of dig into the interview, do you want to do a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's David Kim. Nickname is Yungin. I got that nickname by hanging around with older cats in high school. So they just stuck. They're like, "Hey, Yungin," and then I don't know. It just stuck. It sounded cool at the time, so I was like, "Okay." They started calling me Yungin, and then pretty soon, like everybody started calling me Yungin, and okay, I'm just gonna adopt it because David Kim is like the most common Korean male name in the world, so I had to like differentiate and separate from that, you know.
I love it.
Like,
I love the name.
Yeah.
I love it.
First time I introduced that, like first time my parents found out, and they're like, "Why don't you just use your Korean name?" And I'm like, my Korean name isn't as cool. It doesn't roll off.
For sure. And it's a tribute to the people that you hung out before, and that's the nickname they gave you, and you stuck with it, which is awesome. I know you were born in Korea, but love to hear the story about your childhood.
So yeah, I was born in Korea in '87 in Seoul. I immigrated here to Koreatown when I was 4 years old. I was in the '91, and right when we migrated, the riots happened. You know, like we grew up really poor. My parents moved over here with like $600 in their pocket, you know, and then
wow.
We were lucky enough to know some people. They fronted us like a month of rent. My dad got a job, so we spent that $600 on a car, you know. At the time, It was like an 80-something Mustang coupe. For a family car, it's kind of ridiculous, you know, but I just remember like not having a dinner table. We used to eat like on the ramen box, and I don't know, man. My parents did a great job because I never thought that we were poor, you know. Like a year after the riots, my brother was born in '92, not during the riots, but like that same year, and so there was a lot of shit going on. I grew up in like a kind of a Mexican neighborhood and then Black neighborhood, and then I moved into like the thick of Koreatown. So I had a lot of like multi-ethnic friends growing up, and then after the riots, I've noticed like things started to change. I wasn't allowed to hang out with certain people, and like if I go to their like houses to play, like the tone is different.
Yeah.
Same on our end, you know, like just because of the racial tensions and stuff. But other than that, you know, I think we had a pretty good childhood. Me and my brother are really, really close. As soon as he was born, like I had my best friend, you know, so a lot of the things that we went through financially, we didn't really feel because like I was part of a supportive household, and we were a really close knit family.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, man. I think all up until junior high, we lived in Koreatown, and then gang activity and stuff started to spark up. So my parents wanted to move me out of there. We started
Yeah.
seeing some tendencies, and so we moved to La Crescenta when I was in 8th grade, and if La Crescenta is like the boonies. Like
Mm.
I went from going to a middle
Attractions,
school.
yeah.
Yeah, I went to a middle school that was a third Mexican, a third Korean, and a third black, to 75% white,
Mm.
like 20, maybe 10% Korean, 10% like Armenian, and then 5% other. So
Yeah.
it was like it was a culture shock for me, but like I was still super hard headed, and I think in hindsight it was a necessary change for me to have gotten out of there,
Mm-hmm.
because God knows what would have happened.
For sure.
But I had like a lot of resentment towards my parents for like separating me from my friends and stuff like that. So I
Absolutely.
was angry. I was an angry kid, man.
For
Just like
sure.
I'm just discovering like where all that came from,
What?
but
Yeah. Where did that come from? Where?
I think it was a lot. Okay, some people have pressure because they don't have a parent in their life, or they come from a certain situation, or whatnot. But I had the pressure of having, like, coming from a good family and not having an excuse to fail. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like, I want people to know that like everyone goes through their struggles, and like it's one thing is if no one expects anything from you, but
Mm-hmm.
it's another thing where they don't expect you to fail because you had like this structure. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then it's like, yo, if I do anything wrong, then that hurts my confidence. And then eventually, I know friends that come from really wealthy families that whose parents are always there, but now they have no confidence in anything they do. And
Yep.
it's because they were always expected to succeed and do well, and they couldn't reach that expectation. And every time they didn't, they were like shot down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, bro, like those situations and those experiences really like fuck you up.
Yeah. Absolutely. I come from a very similar background. I have great parents and loving family, and I think like yeah, there is like the opposite end of the spectrum where it's like there are people that have like that chip on their shoulder and that edge, and like I come from nothing,
Yeah.
right? And then you have the other end of the spectrum where there's so many expectations because you've given, like you said, because you're given those opportunities, and I
Mhm.
think that sometimes that could be just as detrimental when it comes to like really trying to pursue what you really love, and sometimes those expectations are different from what you actually really want to do, right? And I
So,
think that could definitely be tough as well, for
mhm.
sure.
I think
um,
for me it was like the perfect storm, because like I come from nothing, but I did have support from my family.
mhm,
I think if anything was different, I wouldn't have ended up where I am today.
for sure.
I had to grow up poor, but I also needed the support from my family, or I would have went somewhere else.
Yeah. tell
Yeah.
me tell me a little bit about that. I mean, coming from a Asian family myself, I think that when our parents immigrate here, they always think this American dream is finding that stable job, right? And I
Yeah.
think but tell me a little bit more about your journey, because obviously, like, was music always something that you were interested in? Were your parents like fully supportive, or was that some conversation that you had to have? Tell me a little bit about your journey in terms of finding your musical career, and your musical,
Mhm.
journey, from growing up as a kid that immigrated here from Korea.
Yeah. I think music was a blessing, in a sense that I didn't pursue music early. All right,
Hmm.
I wanted to play football. I played football since I was young, and I was actually pretty good in high school. I was scouted by D1 colleges and stuff, and then I had an unfortunate accident. My senior year, I broke my back. And all of that was kind of stripped away from me. But I think that gave me a chance to kind of tap into my roots because my dad, he's like, he wasn't a musician professionally, but he plays like 10 different instruments. He's always like trying to learn something new musically. And that came from like his church background. And then my mom also, she's like a self-taught singer. She's taught herself how to play piano. And like recently she like took over a conducting job at a church. You know, like that's where I get my work ethic from. You know, my mom is like you can't tell her she can't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like she'll find a way to get it done. Like she's an accountant by trade, and then she like took her CPA test and stuff. And that thing's like, I couldn't even pass it, bro, because it's in paragraph formats. Like it's not multiple choice. It's not just math. You know, they're word problems, and she speaks a little bit, but that's not her primary language. And for her to like accomplish feats like that, it really inspired me to keep going. But I didn't tap into that until later. I didn't even know like this is where all my, you know, gifts and stuff are from. But like I played football and I got hurt. I was super sad for a long time. And I went to college and I didn't finish because I hated school. And then I was like in the lowest part of my life, the lowest point in my life. And I really had to do some soul searching. And I think music was kind of always in my life. Because like when I was young, I took like piano lessons, violin lessons, like I played some trombone. So I had music in me. I just didn't have it as a priority because there were things that I wanted to do, like play football, play basketball, like sports were my thing. Like to this day, I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but sports is still like my passion, right? Yeah. I still love sports more than I love music. But music is more, it makes more sense. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of stumbled back upon it, and then after college didn't work out, I enrolled into Musicians Institute, and I took the recording engineer program, the audio engineering program, and I think my parents said that's the first time they ever saw me excited for school. You know, like up before my alarm, like I would go to school. This is my approach in life. When I dive into something, I'm interested in it, I'm like super 1000%.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I'm black or white to the maximum. You know, my wife hates it because like it's either I'm happy or I don't care.
For sure.
Like I would go to school. The school is a 24-hour facility. So I would try to be there as much as possible. I'll literally go there Monday and come back on Saturday or Friday night. And then, you know, fast forward like two years later, like when I was at the studio and I was a runner here, I would do the same thing. I'll come here Monday morning, work 9 to 6, and then from 6 to 2, I'll be in the studio. 2 a.m., I'll sleep on the couch, wake up at 8 a.m., wash up, and then clock in.
Back at it.
Now I did that for like 3 years straight, you know, and that's kind of how I got to where I got to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the hard work is definitely well deserved, man. And I wanted to kind of maybe dive back a little bit to something that you said earlier. You know, I think a lot of the times, you know, things happen to us in life where a certain dream that we had has to transition, right? And I think you have a really prime example of you wanting to pursue football, you know, at a D1 level and getting hurt. You know, I think a lot of times, you know, we all have dreams and those dreams can transition, but how did you kind of get yourself out of that mentally, right? Because I think like you were very focused on you know, sports, athletics. How are you able to kind of, was it through your support system? Like, how did you kind of get through it mentally to realize like, okay, I'm hurt. I don't think this is going to be something that I'm going to be able to pursue anymore. And what was that conversation like with yourself?
I think that's one of the first times I had to practice humility. And like, I got smacked in the head by humility, bro. Like I had to understand that what I wanted from life and what I expected from life wasn't always gonna turn out to be reality.
Mm-hmm.
And um the first time I really felt that, it was really hard to get over it, because I'm like, okay, I was supposed to do this, I was supposed to do this, and if I did this, then my path is supposed to lead here.
Mm-hmm.
But why am I not doing it? And then I try to force it a little bit, and then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know everything, and maybe, you know, the path that I drew out is the path that I'm supposed to take. And at that time, I was kind of like back against the wall. I had no other like option almost.
Mm-hmm.
So this was, I think it was the first time I pursued something 1,000%. Because even though I was talented at football, I think I left some effort out there. You know, I could have worked a little bit harder, and I didn't need to because I was talented.
Mm-hmm.
But music, I didn't have natural talent. So it forced me to like really dig deep and like push through the mud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think going through that and like wanting to quit a million times and like crying myself to sleep because I wasn't where I'm supposed to be, like that kind of made it so much sweeter when I actually did like achieve some kind of success, you know? And then I started applying that to everything else in life, where I took more of an open-minded approach, where I don't know anything, maybe I can learn from this, and then maybe I can pivot and it's okay, you know? Because change, like people are so scared of change, but change, leveling up is change. You know what I'm saying? Like, so do you want to level up or not? You know? And if you want to level up, you got to accept that you're going to be uncomfortable and you're going to have to do things that are new and things that you don't know how to do. And that's where I find value in life, like the process of learning new shit, sucking a lot at something, and then overcoming it and then becoming halfway decent at it.
Yep.
That's like the greatest thrill in life. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're already good at something and then you prove that you're good, then it's like, what did you really do? You did exactly what you're supposed to do. You know, like my thing is I want to break rules. I want to break stereotypes. I want to break out of what everyone thinks is supposed to be, you know?
Yep.
Like I wanted to be the Asian that didn't go the doctor, tech, fucking lawyer, that route,
Mm-hmm.
and still became successful, you know what I'm saying? And like I hated the fact that that responsibility was thrown on me at times, because I did feel pressure at certain times in my career where it's like, oh, there's no Asians that are successful in music, you know, there's no, especially in hip hop and rap, like that's something that, you know, there was a yellow wall almost, right?
Yep.
But I don't know, man. I chose to ignore all that, and I looked at it from a super macro sense where it's like we're all fucking people, bro. Like it doesn't matter if you're this color or that color. Any limitation you put on yourself is only gonna stop you from doing what you're supposed to do or what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, okay, let me see if these limitations are real. Let me see if these stereotypes are true. And like it just wasn't. And
That's amazing. No, I agree. You know, I think that a lot of the times we put that glass ceiling on ourselves, right? And because someone hasn't done it before, you know, and then you hear the noise about, oh, like why would you want to be in the music industry? Like you don't see many Asians, especially in the hip hop, you know, in the hip hop genre, right? And it's like, but that doesn't mean that I can't be the first one, right? And why not trailblaze that road for others? And I think that you are definitely doing that. And so, you know, there's someone that, you know, I look up to, and I'm sure a lot of people look up to when you can say I've worked with these different artists and things that you just like you never imagined that you would do, right? But in the end, like you pursued something that you loved going to school for it. you know, and you knew kind of where you wanted to go, and you weren't going to take no for an answer, you know. And I've read your story, and yeah, tell me a little bit about, you know, after graduating the Music Institute, you know, what was your journey after that?
Oh, so for initially, I thought it was 1 year that I was out of work, but it was actually two, because I went back to do like a workshop at Musicians Institute, and then the guy, my contact there, I forget what his name was. I'm sorry if you're watching this. But he pulled up like my old ID, and it was from 2009. Okay, so I graduated. I initially thought I graduated there in 2010, but I graduated there in 2009, and my first day as an intern at Chalice Recording Studios in 2011, July 2011. Okay, so I had a 2-year break. Mind you, I graduated top of my class, and I was on the top of the world. I was floating, right? Like, okay, finally, I'm good at something. I found something that I went gung ho and like I put everything into. It's gonna all work out, right? That's it. I did my work. And then I graduated, and no one would return my calls, and no one would take my internships, right? And granted, I only really tried to apply here at Chalice Recording Studios because I don't know, something just made me want to be here. And I'm the kind of person where it's like, if I know there's this quality out there, I'm not gonna go for, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I know there's diamonds, bro, I'm not rocking the Cuban.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the point? It's not even about like showing off or anything. It's like I want the best quality out there. So I kept applying to MI, and like those 2 years were another really humbling. That was another really humbling period in my life, because before I went to school, it was I didn't put enough effort in. So deep down, I can make excuses, but it was me. I didn't put enough effort. This time, it fucked me up even more because I put in maximum effort, and I still wasn't hand delivered what I thought I deserved. So that lesson was, you can work your ass off, but if you're not taking chances, and if you're not seeking opportunities, nothing's gonna be handed to you. You know what I mean? There's so many people that graduate summa cum laude at a big prestigious university that end up doing nothing, you know? So it's the same thing where it's like your entitlement from graduating and thinking you're really good based on your merit, it means zero. If anything, that is going to be a key to a door, but if you don't go and try to open doors, then it means nothing. It's just a key. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
A key can be $1 million, you know, but if you don't try to open stuff, then it's worth zero.
Yeah.
So that was like that humbling moment where it's like, okay, 2 years. I thought I was the shit. I realized I ain't shit. And that's really important, because you have to start from ground zero for you to build up. Because if you think you're worth this, but you're really worth this, then you're not gonna settle for any of this. You know what I'm saying? So I struggled for 2 years. I finally took matters into my own hands. I went on the Facebook page for Chalice Recording Studios, and then I went down like the employee list, right? And I just cold messaged them. I was like, hey, like, I'm really trying to get an internship at the studio. Can you help me out? Blah, blah, blah. I probably hit like 3-4 people up. And then one of them actually responded. He was like, yeah, there's we're going through another cycle of interns, so I'll let him know that you're my friend, blah blah blah. His name is Josh Sellers. He's still here. He's, you know, he was instrumental to my growth, because without that opportunity, then I don't know where I'd be. But he took a chance, because, you know, I could have been anybody. I could have been a hack, you know, and then he could have gotten slack for that. So I thankfully, I got that opportunity, and then I did well on the interview, and I started with a 6-month internship where I was paid, which turned out to, I think it might have stretched out to a year. I wasn't getting paid, and shout out to my parents, and I had a little bit of savings. But after a year of interning, I got hired as a full-time runner. And being a runner is basically you're getting paid $9 an hour to be an intern, you know?
Okay.
And as an intern, some of the duties were like, I'll come in at 8:30. We open at 9, so I'll clock in, pick up all the cigarette butts and trash from the parking lot, empty ashtrays, take out the trash, clean windows, polish the floors, vacuum floors, restock fridges, restock snacks, check inventory, power on the studios that are booked that day. So when they come, it's already ready, you know, things like that. But we never get to go in the studios while the clients are there. We're the guys that are prepping and dusting and everything before the clients get there. So when the clients get there, it's like, we're like basically maids or housekeepers or like janitors. And the cool thing about Chalice was like Sandra, our studio manager, she allowed us to use the studio if they weren't booked. So if you come in and see the schedule and there's a studio that's not booked on Wednesday, you can hit her up and be like, hey, can I use this studio on this day? And then she'll usually say yes, and you write your name on the board. And then after I clock out, I get to use the studio, you know? And these are like, mind you, these are like world class studios. Chalice is top 5 in LA, you know? It might be the most expensive studio in LA, but to have that opportunity, it was amazing. And that's where I put in work, you know? I will bring in my own clients and things like that. We had guidelines we had to follow, of course. And if a client booked, then we had to get out of there, you know? So there were a lot of, you know, there were minor issues in that sense, but that's how I put in work. You know, when I was a runner, I had to show them I understood the rooms for them to even trust me to use downtime.
Yep.
And when I was in the studios, I had to execute and expand like my knowledge of studio etiquette, studio on like equipment knowledge and things like that, to a place where the next tier was going to be the assistant engineer role. And as a runner, you're just waiting for one of the assistant engineers to leave because they don't open up, you know? It's not, I think there were 3 assistant engineers because there's 3 big rooms at Chalice. And if one of them don't leave, then you can be stuck as a runner forever, you know? And a lot of people leave as a runner because they're so sick of waiting. But I was there for 3 years as a runner. So a year as an intern, 3 years as a runner, just waiting my turn, you know? And meantime, I'm in the studio every day. Like I told you, I come on Monday and leave on Saturday, you know? So my studio manager saw that I was in there. Literally, I was the only one using studio every single day. You know, we had access to these world-class studios, but a lot of the guys, like, they just rather go home and fuck off, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm in these studios every day, and then the second, like, one of the assistant engineers, he took a vacation. I think it was like, assistant engineer got sick. I was asked to fill in. I filled in very well. And from there, it became 4 assistants. They normally don't do 4 assistants, but every time, like, you know, they couldn't do it or it was a last minute session, they'll call me in. So all the sessions that, you know, they didn't want to do, and I'll come in and kill it. And while we were doing that, I think one of them left. And then I did that for a whole year. And one of the engineers went on vacation for a whole month to Europe. And that's when I was asked to fill in as an engineer. And now it's like, okay, I can really show off my chops. And if I didn't have all that experience, if I didn't put in all that time, then there was no way I would have been ready.
Yeah.
Because I think there's still guys here that have been here for a long ass time, but they're still intimidated by the fact or by the thought of going into the studio and actually engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's awesome, man.
yeah.
That's like it's really interesting because like you took those lessons that you learned even back in the football days of just like, effort and like, things that you kind of like I don't know if you say would regret, but you're like, you look back and you're like, I could have put more into that. And now that you do that, even as a runner and you're doing it every single day, it just prepares you for that one opportunity, right? It's always that one opportunity that you need. And because you've been grinding and doing your thing for so long, like you were comfortable in those positions. And it speaks volumes to kind of how like preparation, right? It's like with sports, there's preparation. And with, even in your career, you want to work on yourself to be prepared for those opportunities because they will come knocking somehow in some way. And it's how ready will you be for that, right? And it sounds like you were completely ready.
That's what luck is, right? Everyone needs luck in their life, right? You need luck at one point or another, but like I say success is always like 10% luck. But then I also say that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
So like I'm lucky because I was ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I used to hate when people are like, damn, you're so lucky. But now I'm like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, because you're telling me that I was ready and I put a lot of work in. When the opportunity came, I was able to seize it.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know, man. It's a lot of just perspective, and learning how to see things in a manner that suits you or suits your purpose. You know what I'm saying? And then like if something doesn't serve you any purpose, then don't have it around. You know
exactly.
Like, there's people that I've had to like. There's people that I've known for 10 plus years that I can't have around me no more because they don't serve a purpose in my life. And like that could sound kind of like pretentious, but I'd rather be pretentious than fucking burdened. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I'd rather just like build with new people that want to really get better and build than to hold on to something that is so precious to me. You know what I'm saying? Like we still haven't lived half our life. Like I want a better second half of my life than the first half.
Exactly.
So however I get to there, I'm gonna do it.
You're on your way, man. You're on your way. And I agree. I think that a lot of people that I've talked to in interviews and things like that is just that's a very common theme around success, right? You want to surround yourself with people that that you aspire to be like, and you guys can talk it up and like push each other to get to the goals that you want to get to. And sometimes you're going to need people. Sometimes you have people in your life that aren't going to do that, and it's taking that realization that, hey, this is something that isn't really driving me to where I want to get to, right? And it's really interesting to hear that from so many successful people and how they've had to do that in their life, and it propelled them forward even more, in terms of who they wanted to be around.
You know what it is also? It's like using the things that used to be your weaknesses. Like for me, I'm very stubborn, and my stubbornness used to be a crush, used to be a negative where, you can't tell me that I'm wrong, but now I'm flipping my stubbornness and pointing it around at a different direction where if I'm set on a goal, if I'm set on doing something, I'm going to do it even when the signs aren't there early. You know what I'm saying? And like, for me, that's where a lot of my confidence comes from is sticking through and being patient and seeing how it comes out. Because I know my effort will be validated if I try hard enough and I be patient enough. You know what I'm saying? There's people that wait around forever while not doing anything and then wonder why nothing happens. That's the wrong way to approach it. You know what I'm saying? Just like optimism, there's people that are delusional optimists. Where they don't change a single thing in their lives, but they're like, it's gonna work out. It's gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying?
I'm waiting for that lucky opportunity, right? Lucky.
Yeah. You're just playing the lotto. Yeah. I mean, I'm an eternal optimist because I know I'm gonna try to make it okay. You know, I'm gonna try to make it better. And if something's wrong, if I fucked up somewhere, I'm gonna assume responsibility and try not to let it happen again. You know, and even if it does happen again, like every single thing in life is a lesson or a blessing, right? So like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yep.
Like, yeah, I failed here or I did this wrong, but now that has taught me that that's my direction. Like I can pursue this knowing that that's my weak point, and I can make it so I'll never feel like this again. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
There's a lot of shit. There's so much shit that I learned like in the last probably 2 years, like about fear and about, you know, about traumas and things like that, where it's like we, you know how we have animalistic instincts where our first instinct is to survive, right? And I feel like the first like 20 years of your life, you're just surviving. You're just learning how to get by. You're learning how to navigate all these treacherous waters to make it to a certain age, maybe even till 30, right? And once you get to a point where you're done surviving, you can't let those survival instincts dictate how you go from there. Because once you're not worried about surviving, why would you use your survival instincts? You know what I mean? That's just gonna keep you at that same plateau the rest of your life. So eventually, at a certain period, you have to kind of let go of those things that were so important in your survival period, and now it's like time to thrive. That's a whole nother set of tools that you need to have, and a completely different mindset that you need to adopt. So like we're constantly evolving and like learning new things, and our goals are different. So
yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, because I agree, you know, like in the beginning you're kind of discovering who you are, and then as you get older, like you also get to know yourself even better, right? And then you start to realize that, hey, there's certain things that I used to like that I don't want to pursue anymore, right? And there's something else that I want to pursue, and that's really when you really when you test yourself, right? If you really believe in yourself, it's like, hey, I don't have experience doing something like that, but hey, I'm ready to put in. Are you ready to put in the work? Are you ready to do the things that you need to do to really pursue the dream that you have? Because you know we all, and that's similar to me too. You know, in my journey and starting this clothing brand, it's like I've never done this before, but I just know like, hey, this is like a mission that I really want to pursue, and this is something that I'm passionate about, and I'm gonna go for it. You know, and like like of course I'm not happy with where we are now, but at the same time, it's like I appreciate the journey and all the amazing people that I get to talk to and learn about their stories and share their stories. It's like all like one stepping stone after another to be able to create something that, you know, I can be proud of, you know, and I think that that's something that, you know, you've done in your career, which is amazing. And I'm super excited to see kind of like what's next for you, you know, and maybe before we kind of talk about the future of of where you want to get to, maybe talk to me a little bit about, you know, how you started working with some of these big time artists. You know, you've worked with Kendrick Lamar, Nipsey Hussle, Nas. Like how did that ball start rolling? Like, you know, you got your opportunity to become an engineer at Chalice. What was that? What was the story behind what happened next?
So positioning myself to be at Chalice let me be thrown into all those sessions right away. You know what I mean? Like if I settled for a smaller studio, if I left when I was a runner because I wasn't, you know, getting the promotion that I felt I deserved or I worked for, and I started over or went to a smaller studio, then the credits would have never been there.
Yeah.
So by me, I think just being patient and understanding, you know, when I was a runner, I would see all these people in the hallways, you know, like the John Legends, the Arianas, like everyone. I would see them in the hallways, and I'm like, that was both encouraging and discouraging, because encouraging because I know that if I get to the point that I'm in the room with these guys, I can prove that I belong there. And it's also discouraging because I'm working so fucking hard, but it's like so close, but yet so far. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
one thing if you're only seeing them through your phone or through the TV. It almost feels unattainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they're right there, it's like, oh, this is such a tease. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I'm right there. I can be in these rooms. Like there's only one wall separating us two.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I found a silver lining in that, and luckily I thugged it through, and I saw it through. And you know, to answer your question, that's really what got me into these rooms, because I chose to be diligent about working at Chalice, because I knew that that's where all the A-list artists are at.
Yeah.
And then B is I stuck around where a lot of people would have quit, you know, like I have some horror stories, you know, like I've had to like clean up bum shit off the walls, like in the alley. Dude, there's some crazy stories. But a lot of things that I feel like I went through that a lot of people wouldn't have endured, or would have been like, nope, I'm out, you know. So to me, I feel like I worked for those opportunities to be in these situations, you know. And then
Yes.
when I was thrown in the room with them, I was prepared and I was ready to not be, you know, thrown back out. Because like as soon as I became an engineer, like people started recommending me, and people started requesting me, and like that threw like a monkey in a wrench, like the Chalice politics. Because like when the engineer came back from Europe, I was still getting a lot of these gigs, and our studio manager's like, yo, they're requesting him, there's nothing I can do, you know. And I think eventually that's what kind of like might have forced him to leave, because he felt like that was his position. But
Yeah.
you know,
Like,
that's not on me, you know. I'm just working my ass off,
exactly.
not minding what you think or what you feel like.
This is me, and I took the opportunity, right? It's always
Yeah,
about opportunities and seizing that opportunity, and then being able to showcase what you got, and you, like you said, you were prepared for that moment, and you deserve every piece of success from that moment, because you were running from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then you were in the studio 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. and it's like, I put in my time, you know. And I think and kind of talking a little bit about that. So, you know, how did you start working? I mean, obviously at Chalice, but, you know, did someone hit you up to work with Kendrick and Nipsey, or like, tell me some stories about how kind of those opportunities arise? Because, I mean, obviously you were a new engineer that, well, not new, but you kind of stepped into that role. Like, what was that first opportunity like, and how did that snowball into these other opportunities?
Kendrick was one of my early sessions. I think that was in 2015. Yeah, 2015. I was an engineer, or I was an assistant engineer, and my studio manager was like, "Hey, you want to work on this session? They're booked in Studio A. It's for Kendrick Lamar, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready," you know. And we're gonna be recording all the live instruments, like all the jazz instrumentation for the album. So we were in there, and I was an assistant, but then I was also thrown into the engineering role. We were like, me and the other engineer Thomas, we were like switching back and forth. And then Terrace Martin, who was one of the producers on that album, he's the one that booked the sessions, and he had the responsibility of like getting all this stuff recorded. And through those sessions, that's how I got my name on the board with To Pimp a Butterfly. You know, it wasn't me directly recording Kendrick or like me working directly under Kendrick, but through the studio, I was put into a situation to win. And then as far as Nipsey, that was kind of a different approach, because I was working. I work with Hit Boy exclusively. I'm his engineer. So he tries to push for a lot of, the artists he works for or the beats that he produces to be mixed by me. In this particular story, we just finished recording Rex in the Middle, and like I just felt the energy, and it's something I've never done before. But after the session, I was like, hey, I don't know if this is gonna come off the right way, but do you think I can get the first shot of mixing this record? And I think that's like one of the first big songs that I mixed. And a part of me was really scared because it's like, if I fuck this up, then I might never get a shot again. But ultimately, I was like, if I don't take this chance, then I will never know. You know what I'm saying? So I pulled him aside. I was like, hey, do you think I can get the first shot? Like if you don't like the mix, then there's no charge, no harm done. And he was like, hell yeah. And then the next day, I think his guy booked the studio for the following week. And then one of the first passes, he was like, this is it. Like, it's done. And the only note he had for me the following day was like, hey, can you just turn the vocals up like a little bit? And it was done.
Wow.
And, yeah, that was a huge moment in my life because like I wasn't so keen on taking chances like that previously. I was very like, all right, let's just sit back and let it flow, and let's see what happens. I was that guy, but since then I've definitely been able to take more initiative because that gave me the confidence. That got me a fucking Grammy. So it's like, if I didn't take that chance, then would I be here? Would that have ever even catapulted or like snowballed into the other Grammy? And like, would that have, like, if I didn't take that chance, would Hit Boy have believed in me as much as he does now?
Yeah.
I don't think so,
For sure.
So I think that showed him that I was ready for the big stage. And that's why now, like, every single song that he produces, he's like, David gotta mix it. David gotta mix it.
That's amazing.
We went back to back, man. And like, who knows what next year has in store? Like, we have a couple projects that might get us in that discussion again.
Absolutely. That's an amazing story. So tell me a little, the first time. I know that you have an interesting story with Hit Boy.
Yeah.
I know that he was someone that you looked up to. Tell me a little bit about that first interaction.
So me and Hit are the same age, and his label's called Hits Since 87, HS 87. And I've been following him since, he was under Polo. To this day, he's my favorite producer, And there was a certain instance where he was booked in Chalice in Studio G. And at that time, I was still a runner. And they wanted to order Chick-fil-A. So, I went over, took their order, and I introduced myself. Hey, I'm David, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then I took it upon myself to like make a strong impression because I wasn't able to do it in the studio. I couldn't prove that like I'm a good engineer. I'm ready for this. The only thing I had at that time was I can deliver this food as fast as fuck, as fast as ever, the fastest delivery of all time. And that I set that out to be my goal. And like, sure enough, I was just whipping. I whipped it to Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A in Hollywood is infamous for having super, super long lines because it's like the only Chick-fil-A for a long time. At that time, it was the only Chick-fil-A in LA. So I whipped it. I got there. Drive-through was super long, so I ran up, ordered it at the walk-up, and then I got the food, drove back through all the back streets. By this time, I knew all the back alleys and stuff of Hollywood, So I got here and I gave them the food, and they were literally like, "What the hell? Like, you're back already?" Like, and that led them to asking me. At the time, his manager was like, "Yo, what's your name? Like, what do you do? Do you produce? You're an engineer?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm an engineer." He's like, "Let me get your number." And he got my number. I was super stoked. They didn't call me for like 2 years or something, a year and a half. And then when they did finally call me, it was like, hey, can you come to the studio and run this session for us? I was free that day, so I was like, hell yeah. And I went there and I made a good impression. And from there, Hit Boy was like, can you come in like twice a week? But it was kind of conflicting with my Chalice schedule because at Chalice, we're like basically on call, right? At the beginning of the week, there might be a big session like throughout the whole week and be like, and they might put me on there. But if nothing is booked that week, on Monday, when they start getting calls and stuff like that, it's like, hey, you want to do this session on Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. You want to do this session on Thursday through the next week, blah, blah, blah. So we're basically on call all the time. So I couldn't be like, yeah, I'll pull up on you, Hit Boy, because I have to be on call. And sometimes I'll pull up and I'll be working, and then my manager is like, hey, we have this session, we need you to come in. I'll be like, I have to go, you know? And I think that's kind of what forced him to be like, hey, what would it take for you to leave Chalice? And I was like, I need, it's gonna have to be lucrative because Chalice is where I that was my goal, you know, that was my situation. And that's where I got a lot of my credits. It's gonna have to be lucrative. So he gave me an offer and I was like, fuck, I don't know if I should take it or not. But at the time I was kind of getting antsy and I was kind of itching to leave or itching to change. So it came at a perfect time. And like DJ Khaled, I was kind of working with him at the time too. And they were kind of like, it was DJ Khaled or Hit Boy. And I went with Hit Boy because I don't know, there was more of a camaraderie there. And the fact that he's my age and I grew up listening to like his music and I was such a fan of Hit Boy, it made it an easy decision to be like, okay, I'm going to Hit, you know?
For sure.
So I left Chalice and then I was working at Hit Boy's studio for 2 years or something like that, around 2 years. And then we had a session at Chalice. So we're here, and then my old studio manager, she was like, hey, these 2 rooms are gonna finally be vacant. They were occupied for 15 years, right? By this pop producer. And then she was like, you know, these are available. Do you know anyone that would want to take them? And I was like, the small room, this room right here. I was like, I'm taking that room. I was like, Hit, do you want the other room? And she gave us like a really good deal. And ever since then, we've just been going crazy because like the energy at Chalice is nuts and everyone's already here. So like if let's say like Future is booked in Studio G, Migos booked in Studio A, and then like Tyler the Creator's booked in Studio B, and they want to work with Hit's already here. You know what I'm saying? They can just come to the studio, knock out a song or take a beat to their studio, and then like every day there's A&Rs and managers and stuff walking down the hall. You know, I've gotten a lot of gigs just from walking down the hall and be like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, what are you working on? He's like, oh, I kind of need some mixes. Are you free? And, oh yeah, come on. You know? So definitely. It's a dream scenario to be here, but that's how I linked up with Hit, and now like we're neighbors and
crazy. It's kind of crazy to think about. That was someone that you looked up to and you loved his music, and then it comes full circle. You know, it's just kind of putting yourself in those opportunities and being ready for them, and now you're neighbors and you're working on all the stuff that he's working on. I'm sure it's like humbling, exciting. Just kind of it helps you reflect on the journey a little bit more, right? Where you are.
It's crazy. Like I kind of live in a moment where I don't think about all those things often, but like from working with Nas too, Nas is the reason I started listening to rap. Okay. He was my first and second album that I ever purchased. Like he's got me through so many fucking adolescent, you know,
problems, right?
And I got to work with him through Hit Boy. We mixed King's Disease. We're working on some other shit. But the other day, like I was just driving and like I started just tearing up. Like how am I here right now? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm reflecting on like completely subjectively. I'm like, wait, you grew. This is your favorite producer and this is your favorite rapper, and now you're working with both of them, and you got a Grammy together. Like it was such a fucking surreal moment for me, and I'm like, damn, like what did I started questioning like my worth? Like what did I do to be here? Like, do I deserve that? Is this a dream? Sometimes I think about it that way, and then like ultimately the conclusion I come to is like, okay, I earned this. And all the times that I was working while everyone was hanging out and fucking vacationing and doing Vegas trips and all that stuff, like I was here. This is what I did it for. You know what I'm saying? All the times like I wanted to quit and I was in tears in the studio and not happy with where I am, where like I felt valueless, I felt worthless because I wasn't making enough money, things like that. All those times accumulated for this moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is just the start of it in my eyes. Like those are now I know what I did was supposed to be done the way I did it, you know? And I get asked all the time, like if you can tell yourself 10 years ago something, or if you can tell your 20-year-old self something, or give them advice, or like, is there anything you regret? I'm like, honestly, I would tell them, do exactly what you did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If anything, I'll tell them to have more confidence in themselves, myself, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like, I wouldn't change a single thing in my life. Everything happened the exact way that it was supposed to. And that gives me confidence moving forward when I do have a hiccup or I do come to like a fork in the road. I tell myself like, I'm supposed to be here. Whatever decision you make is going to be the right decision. So just do it wholeheartedly and maximum effort, and you're going to be okay.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely that's the definition of smashing life, right? It's just like going for what you want, and there's going to be times when you're going to have to make a decision, but if you can really just believe in yourself, and I think that that's something that I think everybody would want to give back to themselves, is like, just be confident. Like I wouldn't change anything in my journey. Just be confident in what you're going to do, you know, and things will happen for you. And I think that that's a great lesson. You know, when you think about, you know, your time kind of like working your way up, and, you know, for people that aspire to be audio engineers just like yourself and kind of going through that grind right now, you know, what is the advice that you would give to them, you know, seeing where you are now?
I would say trust yourself, trust the process. It's not going to be a glamorous path. It's not going to be a glamorous journey. But as long as you are true to yourself, and then you're really in it to learn and to get better, because a lot of people are trying to like smash and grab, bro. Like I get DMs like, how can I make money engineering? I'm like, bro,
not for you.
Question. I'm the wrong person to ask that, first of all, because that pisses me off. You know what I'm saying? It took me fucking 6-7 years to even make a little bit of money. Like, you know, just know that I'm finally starting to bear the fruits of my labor. So there's no such thing as a quick buck in this. And if there is, like, I don't want to know it, and I don't know the path to it. You know what I'm saying? That's not my area of expertise. To each his own, but I would say, you know, take value in the journey, build a lot of relationships, be a good person, and do hard work, because in this business and in any service industry, your name is everything. You know what I mean? Your work ethic is everything. If you're if the quality of your work isn't great, but they know that you work really, really hard and like you're growing exponentially,
Yep.
that can be enough to get you in certain rooms. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of this is something that I did want to share too, is like I wasn't the best engineer at times, but I knew how to make them feel comfortable. The artists feel comfortable. I tried my best to let them know that I'm there for them, you know, and this is not me as an engineer trying to do my thing. No, I'm here to help you. Whatever I can do to maximize the quality of the record that's about to come out, or maximize the time that you spend in the studio, I'm gonna do that. So however you can make yourself valuable, you make yourself valuable. You know what I mean? It's not gonna always be it's not gonna always favor your strengths, but that's gonna also cause you to grow, because someone might come in the studio and need you to be the best tea maker. You know what I'm saying? Like the best coffee maker or the best food delivery. You know, even if you're an engineer, like don't ever think that you're too good to do something. Like don't ever feel like you're more valuable than how they see your value as. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree, because I think like in the end, people remember the interaction that they have with you, right? And I think like, yeah, you're never gonna be at the point where you're like, oh, I'm just like at the top of the world and like I don't need to do anything. It's like you're always gonna try to better yourself, right? And there's always gonna be times where you're gonna be challenged, but in the end, people, and I'm kind of getting that sense from you too, is it's like I resonate with that, because I always think about the interaction that I have with that person, right? And it's just like if they remember like, oh damn, David was such just a great guy to work with, right? And I wonder what he's doing now, you know, or like how's he doing now? And like maybe that could be, you know, a year from now, and they're like, whoa, like you improved so much more, right? And I remembered that interaction when we first met. Like those are the opportunities that are going to come knocking, but I think it's all about respecting each other, right? And like respecting each other's journeys and appreciating it, and empowering people, right? In the end, like we're all like you said, we're all in the same. Like doesn't matter what color you are, you know, what you look like, we're all in the same. And how can we help each other to be the best of ourselves, right? And I love that advice that you gave. So thank you for that, for sure. And you know, talking a little bit about, you know, being Korean in the music industry, you know, how like have you seen the Asian community grow in the music industry from your eyes? You know, kind of curious to see, you know, how that's going. I mean, from the inside.
I think the internet is playing a huge part in the growth of like minorities in music, because when you look at like 88 Rising, or look at like, you know, it's making it so like international fans can resonate with you, because like Spotify, Apple Music, it's international now. You know, it's not limited to what the record label wants to show and what the record labels want to invest in. And to add to that, 60% of the world is Asian. You know what I'm saying? That fact alone has helped me through a lot, because like all the Asian hate stuff, all that, I'm just like, okay, eventually you're gonna have to pay. We're the majority, okay? And we might not be the majority in America, but we're the majority of the world, you know? And America is not everything. Yeah, if anything, it's starting to level out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, eventually you're gonna have to learn to deal with us, man, or learn to be our friends, because if not, then it's gonna hurt you. You know, big picture, it's like, that's what I think about. And like the same way, the Asian market is getting so big. And you know, hip hop culture in Korea, hip hop culture in Japan and China, they're growing super rapid. You know, so I think it's a matter of time. It's only a matter of time until like the US market isn't the biggest market. You know, because everyone wants to blow up in America, because America's always like leading the charge when it comes to like culture and
Yep.
shit like that. But I feel like eventually it's not gonna even matter, like whether you blow up in America or China or Japan or wherever,
Yeah.
because there's populations other places. Like, there's a lot of resources out there, and
Absolutely.
I
Well, you
still
think
I
about it.
still want I still want Asian Americans to be popping in America.
Hmm.
It's like, yo, if we're not going to be accepted like that here and our talent's not going to be recognized, then whatever.
For
There's other
sure.
places, there's other markets.
Well, it's interesting because I was gonna say, like K-pop has really taken over. BTS is
Mhm.
probably the biggest group right now in the
Yeah,
world, right? And
hands down.
it's amazing to see, internationally that we can accept like the different types of music that's out there, and I DJ myself, and so it's just great to see, the variety of the different types of music, and that's all due to because of these platforms that have allowed us to
Yeah.
really discover, the different talents in the world, and to appreciate them in our own way. And so that's amazing to see. I mean, I know you're working with a couple, like a Korean artist, Junoflow. Are you working with Junoflow or?
We work here and then. Like,
Okay.
Gino started as a client, but now he's like my bro. Like he's my bro. Um, I'm working with Loopy. I worked with a lot of Korean artists. And and some Chinese artists too. Chinese, Japanese. I've been working like with a lot of Asian
Nice.
talents. Like I have a friend that's pretty big in Thailand. Like I just mixed a couple records for him and his wife. Like
Nice.
I did a couple. There's K-pop. You know how K-pop drops music in Japanese for the Japanese market. Uh, yeah, I mixed a couple things for them. Yeah, it's all over the place, but like I'm trying to take it back. I'm trying to bring it back to the homeland too. Like I think in October or November, I'm trying to go out to Korea and like set off like a seminar, workshop dates,
So,
to like kind of bring the American like the flavor, I guess, or the
mm,
American like workflow and culture
yeah,
comes to hip hop to Korea, and then kind of like influence people to see it in a different light, because it's so
that's
like
awesome.
I feel like in Korea they see it's so robotic. It's still like a business move. Like, okay, it's like cookie cutter shit. But with
Mm.
hip hop is anti cookie cutter. You know? So to accept the fact that like people are gonna break rules and do different shit, it's gonna take a little while, but I kind of want to be like the spark plug for that.
Absolutely. And you've been to Korea before, right? You've done this seminar before.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and how are you? Do you work with like an organization over there? Is it like a music institute over there that you're working with, or?
Well, the last time I did it, um, I had a whole thing planned, but then the company that was supposed to sponsor it, they fell through last minute. So,
Mm,
so we did it on our own. Like we built a studio. I called a couple of the homies that I knew in Korea, assembled a little staff, um, and then did invites ourselves
awesome.
through the rappers and like the influencers in Korea that I knew. They helped spread the word, and then it was a very successful event. And like the next time I do it, we're gonna have like we're gonna go for big sponsors. We're gonna go big stage, like try to do it for free.
Yeah.
Um, and we're gonna do it the right way this time. But even just the confidence based on like us doing it last minute and winging it and still throwing a successful event,
Yeah.
it let me know that like I'm well received out there and people are like really willing to come and check it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I want to stay in touch with you about that because I think that really aligns with our mission too. We've done some campaigns with, I don't know if you know, Arnell Calvario. He's part of the Kinjas. We did this big campaign with them, and we raised some money for Autism Acceptance Month, where they're building a program for autistic children. They get turned away from dance studios typically because they learn differently. So we we raised some money through a campaign. So I'd love to figure out a way. Maybe there's an opportunity there, but I really I love the fact that you're trying to give back, because I think that that's what it's all about now, you know. And I think like being able to empower people to do what they want to do. You know, you've gotten to your point. You have a story, and for you to be humble enough to be like, yeah, like I want to lead the next generation. I want to teach the people in Korea, like, you know, the way that we do things here in America. And if that's going to spark something that allows them to be successful, like
Yeah.
you want to be that spark. And that's
Yeah.
amazing.
If I if I can touch one person and like and be the reason one person pushes through, then I think it'll be a successful mission, bro. Like
Absolutely.
if I can help one person not give up, then I'll be happy. You know, and there's no amount of money you can put on that.
No, not at all. Absolutely. That's amazing. And I'm excited to kind of see where that comes or where that goes. And I'd love to be able to support in any way that I can, for sure.
Sure, I'll definitely
Um,
touch with you about that.
yeah, for sure. And in terms of, you know, what's next for your career? I mean, you have a studio in Chalice. You're right next to Hit Boy. What is next in terms of your journey, or in terms of the next dream for your career?
Dang. A part of me wants to just keep doing the things I'm doing right now for a little bit, but
Yeah.
then there's another part of me that wants to do a lot. Like I'm working on like building my own studio
Mm,
with 4 or 5 rooms. Um I want to do workshops in LA where people can come and learn. I want to do almost like a little academy or like a boys and girls club.
mm,
Like after school they can come learn music or like or make beats and things like that. In Korea I'm kind of in talks of doing the same thing, building a studio, building an academy, and then like maybe even a label eventually. Um, but yeah, I just want to expand like on what I've been through and like the things that I see are possible based on my life.
mhm.
I want to be like the hope for the next generation. I want that. I want to be the reason that Asian parents will let their kids do whatever the fuck they want. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I
So
love that.
yeah,
I
there's a
love
lot
that
of
goal.
things like musically, that's the easy part because I work my ass off to get to a point where I can mix and where I can be in a room with these people. So that I'm not so worried about, which
Mhm.
doesn't mean I'm not gonna try hard at it, but there's a lot of other things that I see like using my platform for good and like influencing the next generation.
For
So
sure.
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting next 5 years.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what comes out of it, and I agree. You know, it's every opportunity that you get, to pay it forward and just to see that next generation. It's just like there. It's a certain type of, I wouldn't say, maybe it's a high or something, but it's just like a certain type of happiness that it brings you when you can be like, wow,
Yeah,
I've seen that person like go from X or A to B, and
yeah,
B is so much better than A, right? And to
yeah.
see that growth is, it's like, to know that you have an impact on someone like that, like you said, just even one person, like it fulfills you in a way that gives you some different type of purpose, right? And
Yeah,
I
for
think that
sure.
that's amazing. Um, just the last few questions, but man, this is some great stuff. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Sure,
Uh,
man.
you know, for yourself, how do you define success?
I think I think success is a fleeting has a fleeting like narrative. I think success is not one thing because success is chasing what you want to do and achieving it or learning all the things along the way even if you don't achieve something. You know what I'm saying? I think success is like touching people's lives and influencing those around you to do better while you're doing better. And I feel like as long as you're happy and confident,
Hmm.
I think there's like a there's like a level of nirvana when it comes to confidence where you become unbothered. You know what I mean? You can do whatever the fuck you want, dress however you want, you know, say whatever you want to say, and do whatever creative thing that you want to do without worrying about what other people have to say about you.
Yep.
I think in a lot of ways that defines success, where you're at a place where you're completely at peace with yourself, you know, and you're not like, you're no longer fighting that fight, or that running in that rat race where it's like, I need this car, this house, this, that. It's like, what works for me? Do I even need all those things? No. Like,
yeah.
I just want to be happy. And like, as long as I can breathe and I can, you know, pay for the things that are essential in my life and make the people around me happy, then
that's success.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely. Everyone's success is going to be different, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what's like the thing that I'm like really striving for, is that I think success looks different for different people. And, you know, the way that when I wear Smash Life versus the way that you wear Smash Life, it's different, but we can all appreciate that it's going to be different, and we can still help each other out, you know? And I love that. And I love that answer, because it is all about that confidence to be like, I don't like, this is just what's going to make me happy. And, and that's all that matters, you know? And that's that you have to get, there's going to be certain chapters in your life that try to help to get there. But once you get there, then everything kind of just like, it doesn't matter anymore. You know, like,
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't care.
You just say, I don't care is success, I guess.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. That is, I mean, that's all the questions I had for you, man. You know, I really am inspired by your story. I want to be able to help in any way that I can. But, you know, thank you so much for just taking the time and really sharing your story and really embodying and being a role model to so many, especially in myself, you know, like, you're someone that I look up to, because you embody this like mentality of just like being yourself, right? And that's what the Smash Life mentality is about. Being yourself, being happy with your own life, and not worrying about what other people think, you know, and that's really where I think that we try to interview people that have that mentality, because when you do, like, good things will happen, you know, and like in different ways. And it may not be like you said, it may not be what you initially envisioned, but it's going to be something that you're destined for. And you're going to be presented with these opportunities because of your journey, you know? And so, yeah, man, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And yeah,
I got some last words.
Yeah, please do.
This is some advice for everybody. It's protect your time, protect your energy, and really learn how to prioritize yourself. You know what I'm saying? Society calls it being selfish, but then the second you're not selfish, they're going to be the ones that are looking out for themselves. So your time, your energy is worth more than any amount of dollars in the world. So protect those. Don't do the things you don't want to do, and then go chase the things you want to do. Like, I know it sounds simple, but it's going to be hard. But like, what do you have to lose? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, really protect your energy and go chase your dreams, man. Fuck what other people say.
Exactly. You have one life to live, right? That's what I love to say. Like, you have one life to live. Like, are you gonna live it in a way where you're trying to satisfy everybody, or are you gonna live it in a way where you're gonna satisfy yourself?
They say that's the one regret. They say that's the biggest regret from people on their deathbeds. Like, I wish I lived my life instead of living it for other people, or living life, you know.
So true. That's so true. Yeah. You got to, man. Like, this is what it's all about. You're here. And it's funny because I saw this like video of like the odds of you being here, right? And it was like your odds of being a human is like 400 trillion or something.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a miracle on this earth. Like, contribute it in your own way. Like, don't and like,
be grateful.
Yeah, exactly.
Be grateful.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the interview, make sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on our social media.